This training module is designed to inform and teach you about the design of the BAK Rion hand welder, how it operates, how to troubleshoot performance issues, and the steps to repair and maintain the equipment. Let's get started. No roofing project can be completed without a high-quality hand welder for field seams and detail areas. Corners, vertical wall seams, and accessories are all areas where hand welding plays a major role. This makes the Rion hand welder standard equipment for every single-ply roofing installation, large and small. This lightweight 120-volt hand tool weighs just 2.8 pounds and will run on any standard 120-volt, 15-amp outlet. It features a commercial-grade double-insulated power cord and a standard 2-prong plug. The Rion hand welder uses 1600 watts of power and will reach temperatures between 68 to 1200 degrees. Its ergonomic handle design with the 2 flat sides allows for comfortable hand welding all day long. It is recommended that 12-gauge 2-wire line cord no longer than 100 feet be used. Using the proper line cord is important to prevent damage to the heating element. While working on the roof, items such as hard hats, gloves, safety glasses, and closed-toed shoes are often required. Check all local safety regulations to ensure proper attire is worn on the roof. To set up the Rion, simply push the power toggle switch to the on position to allow cool air to start circulating through the nozzle. The red dial is the temperature adjustment. Once the temperature dial is turned up, the Rion hand welder reaches temperature in only 3 to 5 minutes. While a heat setting of 7 to 9 is a common welding window for most membranes 45 to 60 mil in thickness, it's important to frequently test with a seam probe to ensure a proper weld temperature is being maintained. Because the Rion is specifically calibrated for single-ply TPO and PVC membranes, it is not recommended for use on thicker material such as modified bitumen. Hand welding is a 2-hand process. A proper hand weld is completed in 2 passes. To start the process, insert the nozzle 2 inches inside the overlap seam to preheat the membrane. Then follow directly behind with a silicone pressure roller to fuse the heated membrane layers together. The second pass is welded the same way, completing the weld out to the edge of the overlap seam. Please be sure to let the weld cool before checking the seams with a seam probe. You always want to make sure your single-ply material is clean and dry, as wet membrane will not weld. Always cool down the welder before turning it off. It will save the heating element and promote a safe work environment, as a properly cooled down welder will not cause any dangerous burns to the crew. To properly cool down your Rion hand welder, turn the red dial to 0 for approximately 3 to 5 minutes until cool air is blowing out of the nozzle. It is then safe to power down the Rion by pushing the power toggle switch to the off position. It is important to follow each of these critical steps when operating the welder in order to maximize efficiency of your welds and to maintain safe operation procedures on the roof. Before we start, please pay attention to the safety and cautionary guidelines required. For your safety, do not attempt to perform service on a hot heat gun. Always allow unit to cool completely and disconnect from power source before performing any service on the heat gun. Fire and explosion hazard can be caused by an incorrect use of the hot air gun, especially near combustible materials and explosive gases. Danger of burns. Do not touch the element housing and nozzle when hot. Let the tool cool down. Do not point the hot airflow in the direction of people or animals. Caution: the voltage rating stated on the tool must correspond to the line mains voltage. Protect the tool from moisture and wetness. The tools you will need for servicing include needle nose pliers, tweezers, T10 Torx screwdriver, T20 Torx screwdriver, pocket screwdriver. Compressed air is recommended. Please read all instructions prior to disassembling heat gun. If performing a complete tune-up on heat gun, it is suggested that you adhere to the following sequence of steps below. If you have technical questions or are experiencing problems with your Rion tune-up, please call our free technical support line. 1-800-345-9353. Open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Closed major holidays. Chapter 1. Replacing the heating element and mica tube. Do not attempt to perform service on a hot tool. Always allow unit to cool completely and disconnect from power source before performing any service on the heat gun. Step 1. Remove the 4 T20 screws from the base of the metal heater tube by using a T20 Torx screwdriver. Step 2. Slide metal heater tube off of Rion by gently pulling outward. Metal heater tube should easily slide away from the heating element and mica tube. Step 3. Slide mica tube and element gasket off heating element. Discard mica tube and put gasket aside for reassembly. Step 4. Remove the heating element by grasping at base of heating element and pulling outward. You will feel some resistance as the heating element plugs into 2 sockets. Step 5. Replace new heating element by lining up both metal prongs on heating element with both socket holes on the heat gun. Press heating element firmly into sockets, ensuring you have good contact. Step 6. Install new mica tube by sliding it over the new heating element. The mica tube is required for proper heating and cooling of the unit. Your repair kit may have the mica tube already covering the heating element. Step 7. Replace the felt gasket by sliding it over the mica tube and heating element. Ensure the gasket is snug against the face of the heat gun. Note, place the gasket around the mica tube with orange side facing outward. Step 8. Replace the metal heating tube by sliding it over the mica tube and aligning the 4 screw holes on the metal heating tube with the 4 holes on the face of the heat gun. Step 9. Replace all 4 screws using a T20 Torx screwdriver. Tighten all screws until they are snug. Pay attention not to over-tighten screws as they will strip the threads in the screw holes. Chapter 2. Replacing the brushes and brush springs. Do not attempt to perform service on a hot tool. Always allow unit to cool completely and disconnect from power source before performing any service on the heat gun. Step 1. Remove rubber ring stand from the body of the Rion heat gun. The rubber ring stand sits within an inner groove and needs to be stretched over the groove to remove from the body of the heat gun. Step 2. Remove the 3 outer screws located on the green body using a T20 Torx screwdriver. Step 3. Firmly grasp the heat gun and gently pull apart, pulling the metal heating tube away from the body of the heat gun. Step 4. Depending on the condition of the heat gun, use compressed air to blow out entire internal components of the heat gun. Step 5. Locate brush and metal quick release wire connector. Using a pocket screwdriver or needle nose pliers, remove connector by prying it off the metal terminal. Step 6. Locate brush spring, holding the brush in place. Using a pocket screwdriver, lift the spring leg off of the brush and guide it to the side of the brush so that it is resting against the plastic housing. Use care as spring is under tension and will jump out of place if not properly held in place. Step 7. Pull the brush out of the housing by pulling on the bare metal wire connected to the brush. Discard the old worn brush. Step 8. Inspect the spring. If the spring is not rusted, broke, or bent, it is recommended not to replace the spring. However, if you do see signs of wear, using tweezers, grab a hold of the spring and remove from the spring stand. Step 9. Replace new brush by placing it back into the socket with groove on top of the brush facing the backside of the heat gun. Step 10. Using tweezers, install new spring by setting it in the spring stand. Loop the long end of the spring up and around, bringing it to the top of the brush. Ensure the spring leg is resting in the groove on the top of the brush. Use care, as spring will be under tension and will be difficult to put in place. Step 11. Using needle nose pliers, reconnect the quick connect wire from the end of the brush by sliding it back onto the metal connector prong. Step 12. Repeat steps 5 through 11 for the second brush and spring. Step 13. Close heat gun by guiding metal heating tube towards the body of the heat gun while lining up the 3 screw holes. Insert and tighten screws until they are snug. Do not over-tighten screw, as you will strip the plastic threads. Step 14. Replace rubber ring stand around the heat gun. Ensure the rubber lip fits tightly into the channel around the body of the heat gun. Chapter 3. Replacing the power cord. Do not attempt to perform service on a hot tool. Always allow unit to cool completely and disconnect from power source before performing any service on the heat gun. Step 1. Remove rubber ring stand from the body of the Rion heat gun. The rubber ring stand sits within an inner groove and needs to be stretched over the groove to remove from the body of the heat gun. Step 2. Remove the 3 outer screws located on the green body using a T20 Torx screwdriver. Step 3. Firmly grasp the heat gun and gently pull apart, pulling the metal heating tube away from the body of the heat gun. Step 4. Depending on the condition of the heat gun, use compressed air to blow out entire internal components of the heat gun. Always direct airflow away from the heat nozzle and towards the rear of the heat gun. Step 5. Locate the black plastic strain relief cap near the end of the power cord. Loosen both screws using a T10 Torx screwdriver. Step 6. Using a T20 Torx screwdriver, loosen but do not remove 2 power contact screws, white and black wires. Step 7. Lift power cord from rear housing and gently pull wires out from under the 2 power contact screws. Once power cord is separated from heat gun, remove cord guard from the end of the power cord. Step 8. Slide the power cord out of the rear of the heat gun. Step 9. Replace new cord by sliding it through the rear of the heat gun and then replace the cord guard on the end of the power cord. Step 10. Separate the white and black wires to create a Y shape. Slide both wires underneath the torsional protection washers and placed on outer edges of contact screws. Note, the white and black wires can be placed under either power contact screw, but normally the white wire is connected to the right screw. Step 11. Tighten both power contact screws using a T20 Torx screwdriver. Be careful not to over-tighten screws. Slightly twist power cord to tighten slack near the power contact screws. Step 12. Tuck cord guard back into the slot located on the rear of heat gun housing. Realign strain relief over power cord and screw onto housing using a T10 Torx screwdriver. As you tighten screws, be sure strain relief is overlapping black shrouding and not touching the black or white wires. Step 13. Replace the green housing while sliding the power cord through the rear of the heat gun. Step 14. Realign screw holes on body and screw together using a T20 Torx screwdriver. Step 15. Replace rubber ring stand around the heat gun. Ensure the rubber lip fits tightly onto the channel around the body of the heat gun. Chapter 4. Replacing the air intake filter. Do not attempt to perform service on a hot tool. Always allow unit to cool completely and disconnect from power source before performing any service on the heat gun. Step 1. Using a small pocket screwdriver, wedge the blade of the screwdriver underneath the plastic filter near the opening of the power cord and pry filter upwards. The plastic filter should unsnap from the heat gun. Step 2. Depending on the condition of the filter, use compressed air to blow out filter and the air intake area of the heat gun. In some cases, the filter will need to be replaced. Step 3. Replace new filter with molded numbers on the filter facing outward. Press into place starting at bottom, open end of filter, and slowly press downward as you move up the edge of the filter. The new filter should snap into place. Chapter 5 provides you with the part numbers and descriptions of all of the parts for the Rion hand welder. Chapter 6 provides an exploded diagram of the location of those parts on the Rion hand welder. You can retain a copy of these pages from HAPCO for your service orders and repairs. You have now completed your HAPCO Authorized Light Service Training module.